took a few notes, and I just have some questions on those that I wonder if we could address. First off, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but I've been in the business world for 40 years and been party to contracts with large corporations, small corporations, and one of the things that are always part of any contract is a measure of performance. And that's one of the things I didn't see in this contract. The only thing that really stood out to me was we have a minimum payment that we're obligated to, which last year was 110 and some odd change. Now this year I understand it's gone down to 100 because we signed a 10-year contract. Is that right?
That is incorrect.
No?
The original bid was 120,206.
Okay.
Harvard agreed to take 10,000 off,
Okay.
so it's 110,206 set for 10 years.
Okay. Okay. So I guess my biggest question on that is, how do we gauge what's being done for 110,000? I think that the talk is relevant tonight because we're talking about all these numbers and the shortcomings we have for doing road work. But here we have a set figure for 10 years, which is $1 million. And where can we can't cut into that, we can't do any savings on that, because there's no factor showing there it costs X amount for this many times we're plowing the road. I don't see any mention of those things on here. If you have a bad winter versus a good winter, we could pocket the money, the difference between that. But here we're obligated to pay it regardless of the weather. We're coming up with work for the contractor to do to get up to the dollar amount that has already been budgeted in. It's a backward situation to me. And why on earth we have this situation and not get bids on these things is beyond me. If a person is doing road maintenance, wouldn't you also be responsible for doing the trimming along the side of the road and the grass? The guy that we're paying for separately, why isn't that rolled into this 110, for example?
No, weed mower.
There's a lot of things that aren't clear to me, and maybe you can enlighten me as to why it was done this way and why we're set with a fixed amount instead of us dictating what we want done in a specific year for X amount of dollars in the budget. For example, we want road repair done or patched on a designated area of road. We get a dollar figure from the contractor or several contractors, which would be even better. We compare those and select it. We pay X amount of money to do this. We don't go backwards and say, well, we have to pay $110,000 now. What are you going to do to get the billing up to that amount? Or maybe we just hand it over to them. I don't understand how this all falls together. Maybe you can explain to me the process.
If you want,
Okay.
I'll go back. I was the only bidder for a 5-year deal.
Okay.
Okay, nobody else was here. Quite honestly, I didn't even want to dig it out of my pocket and give it because there's too much bitching going on. Nobody is always 100% happy, and I'm not picking on you or anybody else in this room. You can't make everybody happy. In that 5 years, I didn't put one nickel in there for extra fuel cost, extra labor cost, anything. Then I gave the township an option for another 5 years that saves the township $10,000 a year, which is $100,000.
Did you also give the township an itemized billing each year of the work that was done?
We bid everything that goes on in this township. We have a unit number for the truck, for the man, for a grader, for a loader, for everything. We turn in hourly rates to Deb every time we do something. That gets brought to the board for approval. Dan and I have butted heads on a couple of things already. He wins sometimes, I win sometimes. That's just the love-hate thing going on. But everything we do is by the hour, basically. We don't take one penny more than what we do. A couple years ago, I gave some money to the township fire department from the road budget. So if you think I'm trying to put the screws to you, I'll go back to 5 years and there's only 4 left.
No, I'm not implying that.
And I'll just take my extra $10,000 because I'm money ahead.
My question is, why is it asked backwards? Why are
We
we not
both
saying
have-
this is the work that we want done? Let's have a quote for it and go forward from that point. We're going the opposite way. We're
Okay,
saying,
but how do you
we're gonna
bid?
hand over $110,000 now. hopefully we'll get our money's worth out of it.
Okay, simplest question I can think of right now. How much is it gonna snow next year versus last year versus the year before?
That's my point, exactly.
Nobody bids
Okay, if we
Snow.
have,
by the year.
So you're saying 110,000 is dedicated yearly for snow removal?
No, it's brushing, it's potholing, it's replacing culverts, it's fixing washouts on shoulders. It's anything that Dan or Fred or Don call. Or sometimes some citizens will call me up, like on Maple Road, just the other day. I see Jack down in Perryville store, he says, hey, we got a bunch of potholes. We run over there last week and then we finished them this morning. It's the way it works.
Trees in the road,
Yeah, I mean,
how do you know?
I get calls from the cops at 1, 2 in the morning to go out and get rid of trees in the middle of the road because the tree fell down. It's just the way it is.
I think what these guys are saying is it would be nice to see, it's just easier for people to see where our money's going. You know, you spent this much this year on snow removal,
Yep.
you spent this much on tree trimming, like how come at the end of every season, we don't get to see that? I mean, it's just,
Deb has it all.
it's in the annual report.
Deb has every,
We don't break it down that small anymore because, you know, it starts 110,206. And we, the most, you know.
It starts, did you just say it
It
starts?
starts with that and we
So
can
that's the
debit off
minimum
of
amount
it.
we're gonna pay this man, and then we may pay him even more.
And at times we hire him to do additional things.
but what she means is that it starts at the
110, 206, and then we
And then
take
every
off
time
of
we've
it.
been, yes, every time we bill, it goes down.
Right.
So she's doing her math backwards.
Yeah,
get to zero.
yeah, or we can do it the other way. We're up to, through the April road maintenance bill from Arvid. We have paid out $84,187. We have $26,018 remaining in his contract for 2017. That's a real normal amount to have this time of year because typically we'll reserve about $30,000 for fourth quarter snowfall.
Yeah,
And sometimes we don't have fourth quarter snowfall. And then there'll be other things that will take off his contract. Maybe it's going to be a tree in the road.
Right.
You know, whatever.
I mean, there was a time or two, a year or two, where there wasn't any money, and so we just didn't bill until January.
Until January. And that was this last year as well. The first one we
It's a
paid this year
guideline,
was
which is-
$17,805. That was for December 2016 road maintenance. And these notes are directly from his invoices, and he invoices per, there's all kinds of, and Dan always looks at them as well, you know, like per axle, per man hour, what kind of machine. Like this was hung out here in the display case ever since Arvid did the contract and got it a couple of years ago. Plowing per hour rates, $110. Spreading 80, patching 80. Excavator. Now these are machines he builds out per hour. An excavator's $175. A loader $150. A dozer $150. A grader $150. Skid steer $125. Roller $125. Mini excavator $125. A tractor trailer $110. Quad axle dump $100. Tandem axle dump $90. Single axle dump $80. Labor $80. This is extinct and was taken down because this year we on item number 7 invoice, it came in at 7,000 and I got a revised invoice for 8,000 because the rates went up. And that was the rate increase since this item here on 8/14/2015.
And those
So he
prices
is
include
itemizing-
fuel, man, and insurance.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not just it's just not like the county bills for the truck, for the shovel, for the man, for
the
his
statement.
gloves, I mean, office help.
How did we come up with a 10-year contract?
Why?
Or how did that 10-year contract number?
I asked for it to save the township money.
We were at that meeting, there were no bids. And I will attest the fact that that man didn't want to pull a bid out of his pocket. And but he finally put it out and said, okay, here's what it is. And due to the township, you know, he says, tell you what, we'll do a 10-year contract and save the town some money. It's a
Which is
gamble, it's a
$100,000
gamble
you
with him. And it's a gamble in the township.
But we both have,
And it was stopped, and it was all reopened for bids again, so everybody had a chance to bid a 10-year. correct me if I'm wrong, there was no bids on the second time.
No.
So-
And we both have an out card. I can give the township a written notice, or they can give me a written notice at any time, and it's either 30 or 60 days, and I'd be out or they'd be out.
Yeah.
No,
If
whatever,
not-
no, it's once a year, and August 15th is the only time you have a window to get out.
Right, but then it's a 30 or 60-day written time period in that time zone.
Oh, that might be.
Yeah, there's still an out card. It isn't like you guys are locked with my insufficient work for, 10 years.
So were there no other bidders? Is that what
There
you're
was
saying?
no other bidders. I
Nobody
will attest
else?
to that for, on behalf of the board. We sat here, it's like, you gotta be kidding me.
And this happened 2 months in a row.
Not a lot of contractors wanna have, guys be on call 24 hours a day for snow removal, and it's just not a.
I called Mitch to skip the guy and asked him if he would bid. Because I thought he'd be aggressive enough to go do it.
Okay.
Has there ever been any studies or inquiries into having our own equipment for snow removal? And our own,
If you think you can have your own equipment for $110,000 a year, you're dreaming. Because it doesn't just come with equipment, you have to have a full-time man, you have to have a building to put it in, you have to heat that building, you have to insure it. The other townships that do that, Pleasant Valley does that, and their cost is $300,000 to $400,000 a year.
I see Dunn County does that. How much is it over there?
I don't know what Dunn County does.
But that's a county, not a
County,
township.
not
Oh,
township.
Rock Creek Township, excuse me, not Rock Creek.
It's higher than what ours is.
By the time you pay your workman's comp.
You gotta have the investment in the equipment.
And then you gotta have a guy like Rock Creek that has Chris Gruber that will do it part-time when he's farming, and Chris is an excellent man.
And
Saves
so-
a lot of money.
Yeah, a drop of a hat, Chris.
And these other townships, correct me if I'm wrong, could have bid on our, could have bid on our work.
The county could have bid on
The
it.
county could have bid on, none of them even bid.
The county can't bid.
Well, actually, the county can't.
No,
bid.
they
can
can't
give an
bid.
estimate.
Right, but they used to do summer work as, before Harvard did it, the county did. But I mean, these townships, I think, or if I'm wrong, but I think some of the towns could even do, I think Pleasant Valley does some for Clear Creek and vice versa.
Maybe I'm still a little thick on this, but why are we set at a dollar figure rather than being billed and pay a set amount and then we're allotted? Let's use, for example, in the budget. This year, we can only afford to do $50,000 worth of road maintenance. Why don't we limit it to that? Why are we set at 110 or whatever it is and then backing up to cover us?
Well, I can answer that.
Okay,
Because even the county, and I got an estimate from the county, we can get estimates from the county all day long. The person that is going to be responsible is going to have fixed costs, whether we have snow or not. Equipment, a man, all the insurances, labor, they have fixed costs. So even with the county, they gave me a price of $114,000. We need to get that much in order to do this, and if we don't have snow, we work with the board to accomplish some other road maintenance things. And that, contract is very similar to Arvid's in that is why. It is going to, Arvid needs to be guaranteed something, because maybe he's gonna have a load payment on that wing he put on his quad axle, so in case we have the giant snowfall. But if we don't, Arvid still got the load payment on the wing. You see, the fixed cost has got to be covered for these guys.
So is this
And
the
the
only
county as
job
well.
he has?
Pardon?
Is this the only job he has?
Can we take a break, Dave? Do you have a question? before we go?
Yeah, I
We have
just got one
47
thing.
miles.
I don't live in the township or anything, but hearing Arvid's rates, just put my input in, I do a lot of bidding, I see a lot of rates, and they're very reasonable. They're right in where-
And ma'am, to answer your question, the only reason I have the 2 trucks with the plows, with the wing,
Thank you.
we don't plow them uptown, we use.
Well, in all reality, I mean, we've gotta spend close to that every year, right? I mean, what are the odds that we'd end up with $30,000 extra on your contract a year?
There was a year or two that we did extra road maintenance stuff to accommodate it because we didn't have much snow.
Right.
And so, and I'm not opposed to doing any of that, you guys, I'm not, it's just, but Deb's right, I mean,
not like we're paying him that much a year and he's only doing $60,000 worth of work and he's pocketing the other $40,000 for nothing. He's making up for it.
And my guys get a little kicker to come on in the middle of the night in a snowstorm and it's colder than hell and the wind's blowing like a son of a bitch. They do.
They should.
Did you get all that, Jeff, over there?
If I need to get a fire truck to your house, I need that snowplow out there. My fire truck ain't getting to your house.
I mean, last year, the road was so slippery, I stopped on the backside of Rimrock. I stopped, because I wanted to make sure that the salter had salt in it before I went up the other side of Rimrock. And the truck.
Was this the ice storm? You guys went up backwards.
Yeah, you
gotta go
guys
backwards.
saying
So we went
backwards
in the
past
ditch.
our house. Just
Yeah,
get up
we went
there.
into the ditch that day too.
And I was stopped, and the truck starts to slide, and I try to grab a hold of it,
School
but I
bus
was
did
just
too.
stupid.
Oh, yeah.
It was, I mean, it's not all glory, you guys.
Well, I understand, but to that point of that incident, you could have plowed that road a day earlier and none of that ice would have existed.
Oh, yes,
God.
it would have.
That ice didn't start
Because
until like
that-
4
well,
o'clock.
there was a
Started at
time
4
last
p.m.
winter where that was not.
It started about 4
it was-
o'clock.
It was slush the day before and then.
No, that day nobody could have prevented that ice. No, there
Well, I'm just
was,
saying though, there's times when.
You know what, Mel, if I'm not good enough, why don't you run for the board, get elected, and you can just fire me, I'd be good with that.
Well, because.
You wanna
quite
bitch at me all the
honestly-
time.
Well, I don't wanna bitch at you, I'm not even complaining.
Well, hell,
I'm
you're
just
not.
simply saying that if you look at the
You
situation.
guys wanna come down here like
our
a bunch of little
times
girls
we've
all the
been-
time and squeal, run for the damn board. You know, then can me, I'd be good with that, cause I don't give a shit if I follow this or not. It is not, either way for me, I do it for, I love this
Into a
township.
free-for-all, or are we gonna have some order here?
I mean, the basic numbers
I'm
that we've got,
just-
I guess we can move on, because I don't know if you have any other questions about,
No,
as far
I
as-
can see that there's nothing going to be done. regarding-
Here, I'll tell you what, I'll go have a smoke, you guys can talk.
I just want to make one clarification so we know. It's a minimum 110,000 and understandably, costs go up every year. So it isn't that it's not going that costs aren't going to go up over the 10 years because only the minimum stays the same, right, Terry? Is that the way you understand it
I
too?
understood it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So costs still are going to go up.
Yeah, so in 10 years, it's gonna cost more than 110, you know, so I mean, it is saving the town money.
But I agree. I don't particularly like the 10-year agreement either. I think that's too long. I think well, maybe Mark, maybe, but I'm saying that some people at some point, and when it's a democracy, certain other people might get elected and during that contract and say, now wait a minute, now I'm stuck with this 10-year contract.
Not really, because remember, you go back to the point where there's a date in there where.
Once
the town can
a
cancel
year,
it.
either the township or our.
Or Arbor can cancel.
Not only just once a year, here, I opened up the contract. Either party may terminate this contract for breach upon 45 days written notice to the other. Breach includes failure by contractor to perform in a timely manner, a manner consistent with the agreement, or in reasonable accord, or if Brunswick fails to pay the contractor as agreed for the services. So if there's some falling out between the contractor and the board, 45-day notice can end it at any time of the year.
Well, people came with questions, and this is a public meeting. We're entitled to questions and to the answers. I would expect people to be mature
So what,
on all
what
levels.
question wasn't answered?
They were. That's my point. I don't think anyone has to get upset or
Name calling.
we're not in third grade here.
Exactly, so I guess if your questions are answered, let's move on and, you know,
I have a better understanding about how you're doing this. I don't necessarily agree. I still think it's a backward way of doing it. His expenses have nothing to do with us. His expenses as a contractor are his expenses. I could care less what those are. We need to have a set budget and work off of a set budget, not dedicating X amount of money and then finding the work to account to that level. I still think it's backwards. Apparently, I'm outvoted on that, but there you go.
let's move on.
Moving on, item number